Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Statements by Rainbow, and I'm Rainbow. So today I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of virgin voyages. So me, my wife, and a couple of others, we went on a trip for my birthday this summer, and it was my first time going on a virgin voyages cruise. Normally I do another cruise. So of course, turning 40, I was like, okay, let's do something grown and different.
Three, two, one.
One of the big things that, of course, we all know, no children. I enjoyed it having no children. One, if I wanted to deal with kids, I would have brought my kids. So it was relaxing that I didn't have to worry about children running past me, or that I have to be cautious of certain things that I do to be respectful of other people's children, or children coming up to me, or different stuff like that. So that was the number one plus. It was adults only. Truly enjoyed that part of things. Another pro was that the online app beforehand, it was easy to work with. You download the app, upload your picture, documents, and different stuff like that. It was easy to use for a person that is semi tech friendly or advanced tech friendly. It was easy to use. The payment system was smooth. There was no interruptions as far as uploading. Um, Also, I liked it. The pro for me was that you could bring whatever type of wine that you wanted to bring. It wasn't, limited to just a certain type. So previously on another cruise, you know, when the XXL wine came out and I brought it, it got taken elsewhere. So this time I didn't see no limitations. I took me some teleport as one of my wines. So um, that was good. I actually liked it, the bracelet method better. Now it was a couple of times it came loose, but I definitely still like the bracelet method better. You know, versus a lanyard or a card or something. I liked the bracelet. It went with their color red, lightweight, nothing holding you down. It was waterproof, so you could get it wet, get in the shower if you choose not to take it off, stuff like that. Another thing I liked it was the fact we were standing outside in the heat, but they provided boxes of little waters for you to drink. So you ain't going out being out there dehydrated when you probably was gonna get on and be, getting drunk or something like you was gonna be drinking or something like that. So I did like the fact of having they provided water. I also liked the fact that they had the check-in times and they had the lines for the check-in times. Um, and I liked the fact the line went smooth, it went fast. I liked the fact a pro for me was from the time standing in the line. Now, of course, I got in the line a little earlier than what my check-in time was, but even still, I think a total process of me standing outside in that line to going inside the building and getting my bracelet and picture taken and stuff, maybe a good 35 minutes, if that, honestly, which was great. And I don't even think it was 35 minutes. And like I said, I did get in the line earlier than my time stated. Another pro for me was there was no noise. And when I mean no noise, there was no noise, on the loudspeaker. That you it was like peaceful. The only time we heard noise on the loudspeaker was, I think, on a port day that they called all the workers. They were doing a drill. So I definitely, that was a pro. It was quiet versus a dun, 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 going off every 30 minutes or so. That was wonderful. Um, another pro for me was that they had a doorbell on the doors, and you also, you could set, instead of putting a do not disturb sign per se outside of the door, you had a button that you could turn the chime off of the doorbell or let people know that you didn't want to be disturbed. So I thought that was nice. Another pro, since you can bring wine, that they had a corkscrew in the room. Now the funny thing, we did not figure out about the corkscrew per se until probably day 2 or day 3, because the way it was shaped and kind of hidden inside of itself was a little confusing. But the fact that we have a corkscrew, knowing that you're able to bring your wine, that you don't have to ask somebody to come bring you a corkscrew or take it to, one of the restaurants or something to get it open, was a plus. As well as another pro was that they had a refrigerator in the room, and they also provided water daily to you in the room. Of course, another pro, having room service, which it is a fee, but definitely is a pro. As well as another pro, for you girls that wear makeup, they had a particular washcloth that set makeup so you could use, because a lot of times if you're traveling and stuff like that, if you don't bring no makeup wipes or a makeup rag, you kind of feel some type of way that, I gotta. Most people use white washcloths, so it was nice that they actually had one specified for your makeup. Another pro for me was that the lighting. You could change the lighting. Um, you know, hey, maybe you're getting ready. You might got a couple of other guests coming over that you want it nice and bright. But it might be another mood that, hey, you're trying to be grown, that you want to set the tone, or you want to read a book or something like that. Or I know you have some people that needs to sleep with some type of lighting. Another pro for me was that there was enough outlets. Is that I was, sometimes when you go on cruises, you have to bring a extension cord or something of that nature, because there's not enough outlets. Now we did bring one, but there was still enough outlets for the uses that we needed. Also, another pro for me was that the TV had movies up there that you could watch that were good movies, not like, I don't want to see this. It was good stuff that was recent, good stuff. Now, if you're one of those ones, just chilling in a room and want to watch something before you go to bed, something good to watch versus you just flicking through the TV and like ain't nothing. I'm just try to make it do what it do. I also felt that another pro was the internet service that was provided. There was one that you can purchase, but we did not. We just went with what was provided, because it being my first time wanting to see what was provided, how it was going to work. And on board, you know, me and certain people that we went with, we were able to message each other, whether regular text messages or using Instagram. So Instagram, I didn't do a lot of talking to people, but I did, did some messaging. Regular text, Instagram. I used Discord and Facebook Messenger were the things that I use. I did get on Facebook and Instagram just a tad bit, not much. Like I said, I'm there for vacation to enjoy myself, so not per se worried about everything else. Another pro for me was it wasn't packed. Given summertime, most people take vacations on summertime, but it wasn't a packed feeling that, you feel like you like a sardine or something like that. Um it was good. Now, club times or certain clubs or certain shows that it could get packed or whatever. I'm laughing because it's one of the club moments that I did have that, like I said, it's packed, but it ain't that packed, that I had a little situation. And it was like, I see why I'm going to the club no more. Anyway, another pro for me was that the food, everything was included within. So, all the different restaurants that they had, you were able to try something different. As well as, since we're sticking to food, another pro for me was that they were very conscious of the now food category. And for me and my household, Before going on the trip, we had been, I guess you could say, pescatarian for a year and a half. So now, before the trip, like a month before the trip, I started eating chicken because I was just like, I wanted to see. But I liked the fact that being on Virgin Voyages, that they had vegetarian options. There was something from everybody, you know. So, say, uh, first time ever going on a cruise, really, I think seeing avocado toast or plant based sausages, you know, different things, you know, vegetarian pizzas or, you know, just vegan options, vegetarian. It was something for everybody. Fried cauliflower, you know, just different stuff. And so even if you wasn't a vegetarian or a pescatarian, that's trying some of those particular things that they did have, or vegan, you could try it and still you're like, okay, this really ain't that bad, right? Another pro, of course, most people who get the rooms with a hammock, you know, they want to relax on, you know, their deck, balcony, and, you know, might want to do a little extra, but that was nice other than just having a chair. Um, Another pro was the safety check-in. It was easy, you know, watch a video within your room. Hey, while you're unpacking, listening, watching, whatever, go down to wherever the muster station that they tell you to go to. Hey, check in, boom, it was simple. Another thing was a pro was having the app that what you gotta have the app to do a lot of the things. So checking in for your restaurants, seeing, you know, having the itinerary for the day or the day after, you know what's going on, so you could plan your days or your that you're there out ahead of time, or if you need to rearrange something, you know, I like that it was provided and that you had the option before even coming onto the cruise to pick the restaurants and your times that you wanted to go. I think that was a good idea. Another pro I would say is that they with the restaurants limiting you to make reservations only once per restaurant, but you could be on the waiting list if you wanted to say go to that restaurant a second time. You just couldn't make reservations for it. You would have to go on the waiting list for it as a, you know, walk in. Another pro for me was when you first got to the room, the very first day when you opened the door, there was a certain little music, a little lighting, like ta-da, you hear. It was very welcoming. Another pro for me was that when things weren't right, they made sure they promptly fixed it or, you know, did something to let you know, hey, we're sorry for XYZ, which I'll get into that later. Another pro was during emergencies, which I think we only, if I'm not mistaken, there was only one that I was aware of that somehow they had it so that the TVs and everything go silent. They're able to mute the TVs so they could come over the loudspeaker. So another pro for me was them having the private beach and the food being provided on that private beach, and it was actually delicious. Now we can talk about the cons. The cons, okay? So, con for me, the bathroom is tight, and when I say tight, I feel like how I'm sitting in this computer chair and what I got. I feel like if I laid down, which there was no way to lay down on the floor, it was tight. It was small. It was small. But I guess it was for its purpose. Another con relating to the bathroom was the shower. Stand up shower. Like you see my hands. I'm short. I'm short, y'all. I'm short. 5 even. It was like my hands was gonna be like this. That's probably as why I asked the little shower went. Now, imagine I have two stand up showers in my home. It was smaller than that. Me normally, me and my wife. could share a shower. That won't happen. It won't happen. Mm-mm. Never did. No, no. And my wife's small. My wife 5 feet even. She's slim. I'm thick. It won't happen. So imagine if you and your whoever 150 and 200, 150, 120, it won't happen. Now, unless y'all both bald, don't mind the water getting all in your face, because that was another con. The way the shower head was is a waterfall shower head, so it's directly in the middle above you, directly. Now you do have the pull out piece, so you can get all up in places, but I ain't like it. Nope. Another con for me was they had now I didn't put it as a pro about them providing soda, but a con to me was I don't think they had enough soda selection, especially with the type of machine it was. I think it should have been more selection, more flavors and stuff like that. Honestly, the only time I might have one day won't feeling that hot, drunk some ginger ale. You know, you know, we go to our ginger ale when we feeling bad. So I was happy that they did provide ginger ale. I think the selections was Coke, ginger ale, Sprite, and maybe orange Fanta was the only selections as far as soda went. I might have drunk a Fanta, orange Fanta, maybe once or twice. Um, Another con for me, the customer service was nice from everyone, but the people that I end up having a problem with were my complexion, if not darker. I don't I don't know what was up with that. I'm not gonna say that's on all of their cruises. Just telling you my experience. The people who seemed to have the attitude that worked upon the ship were my complexion, dark skinned women. Um, I don't know what that was about. I ain't even about to try to make up nothing. Just my experience. Another con, the size of the pool. You got too many grown folks. It's summertime, especially you on a trip. The pool space isn't big enough for the amount of people that's up there. Honestly, I felt I've seen people pools in their backyard be that size. So, and then you got thousands of people on one ship and that pool, especially, so pool could have been better. Now, another con I had arriving to my room. I've been like this for years. The way I was taught growing up, I check my room. I clean my room. Yes, I clean my room. I know the people are supposed to have cleaned it, but usually there's something I find every time, anywhere. Hotel or Airbnb, I always find something. So, and I get that it's a fast turnaround from the time people are coming off, people coming, and us coming back on. So the cleaning, some things get overlooked. Whether you need more staff or they need to do a little more due diligence in what they're doing. So in the room, you have the little canvas baskets with wire and attached to it that you can put, maybe socks, t-shirts, bras, or whatever, whatever you want to put in those baskets. I think it was like 3 of them. So in one of the baskets, I did find somebody, the person who was before me, I guess, and who knows, could have been the person before them, belongings. I think it was a bonnet, uh, I think a bathing suit, and a nightgown or something like that. It was some other stuff too. So I ain't gonna lie. I was like, no, no, like, I don't think they cleaned the room at all then. And so I will say a pro, like I said earlier, was that they made sure that they rectified the situation, which they just came and took the stuff, but they made sure they gave me a bottle of wine or champagne. Uh, they gave me a box of chocolates. They gave me, I think it was 2 dozen of roses in a vase. It was in a cute setup. They had made a very cute setup for their mistake. Another con would be the drinks. So we, I drink. I ain't no drunk. Um, Normally on my cruise, I probably dinner around dinner time is probably when I might get my drink. Maybe lunch. All depends on my mood. It don't have to be a necessary every time day. Or if I go to a show or something, I get a drink, and from there, if I go to the club, get a. But those drinks, they were watered down. I even talked to another lady. She was like, she was a bartender out from elsewhere, and she knew something went right with those drinks. She was like, not once was she drunk, and honestly, no, I did not see not one toe up person on the entire ship the entire time. So, they taste good, except for one of my drinks. It was the strongest tasting drink that I had, and if you looked at one of my previous videos, it tasted like alcohol pads. It was supposed to be a honeydew drink that was green, had a little cherry. It tasted like alcohol pads, like corn liquor. And I said, I ain't wasting my money. I'm going to drink it. But I was not buzzed at all. No tips, no nothing. The drinks weren't, they were watered down to me, honestly. Going to my last con. While having that alcohol pad as a drink in the restaurant. My first experience ever on a cruise ship. There was a cockroach. And I went to, and my homegirl, it was like, we ain't, why? And the people who was like sitting where we was at, they were looking, it was all, and I'm like, y'all got to guess that didn't make a reservation. Yeah, and I had just took the stool that was beside me and like put it over top of it. So when the lady, the waitress, she came and when she was looking like, where is that? And I'm like, and she was like, keep it like that. And I think the head manager of that restaurant, he came over and he was like, oh, this is the first time I've ever seen this. I'm like, not a roach, a cockroach. So anyway, these were my pros and cons, in which I didn't have a lot of cons. On Virgin Voyages, will I do it again? Yes, I will. If I want to take a adults only trip or solo trip, that's where I would go. If I want a family trip, I would do other places. So, have y'all been on Virgin Voyages yet? Hopefully this helped you, give you some ideas of things to look out for and to expect. Drop down in my comments, what was your favorite experience of being on a cruise, if you've been, or if you've not been. Drop down in the comments. You got a cruise coming up, let me know where you going. Thank you for watching.